This is my clandestine, super sneaky squirrel gun right here. This is the Griffin Armament Checkmate HD suppressor. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. Well, ever since I got the Ruger Mark IV. And I've learned some things about 22, about this Ruger, about this suppressor, and it's all good things. So, as you can probably tell, I am a fan of Griffin Armament. The first Griffin Armament product that I ever purchased was the Mark II ambi lower, and I have said how much I love it on this channel multiple times. I did a full video on it because my other favorite lower before that was the ADM UIC. Well, the Griffin Mark II has the exact same ambi controls, but for like half the price. And that's kind of the theme with Griffin Armament. Very high quality, really good products at a pretty affordable price, and their suppressors are no different. Griffin Armament makes a lot of different suppressors. But when I won this, and I won this pistol at Guffey's Range Day, which I did a video about that as well, you know, $100 raffle ticket, I got a Ruger Mark IV 2245. Pretty sweet little pistol. Some guns are meant to be suppressed, and a 22 pistol with a threaded barrel is meant to be suppressed. So immediately after getting this gun, I sent an email to Griffin Armament. I didn't really expect a response, but literally either that afternoon or the next day, they said, yeah, we know your channel, we like what you do, and we're gonna send you a suppressor. Well, this puts a smile on my face. This is the Griffin Armament Checkmate HD. It's their rimfire suppressor, 22 long rifle, CCI mini mags. We will be doing some subsonic rounds here in a little bit, but even with these, no hearing protection needed. .22 long rifle is a cool round. Now, is it as, effective as a rifle round? Absolutely not. Is it even as effective as like 9mm? Absolutely not. Is it really fun to shoot and have, its reasons for existing? Yes. One of the great things about rimfire, about 22 specifically, is it's just not as high pressure as as most centerfire rounds, as all centerfire rounds. And so you can make a suppressor that is smaller and lighter weight and still very effective. This has 17.4 stainless baffles, but it's 7075 T6 aluminum tube. And so the thing is pretty lightweight for a suppressor. And it's also nice and small. So even on the Mark IV, when you have this on, it becomes very long. It doesn't feel very long though, because of course you don't have something heavy on the end weighing it down. I've suppressed this 9mm pistol before, and well, it was with a titanium suppressor that was not very heavy either, but definitely a difference between a rimfire can and that. So the Griffin Armament Checkmate HD, this is their flagship rimfire suppressor at this point. Their Checkmate was very popular, and so they came out with the Checkmate HD. It's got EcoFlow baffles, whatever that means. I assume that means that they flow in an economical way. But, it does seem to work. So I didn't notice any back pressure, nothing spitting in my face while I was shooting, and I shot it relatively fast. So I assume those EcoFlow baffles do what they're meant to do. The main thing that it does though is it makes your pistol or rifle, whatever you put it on, very quiet. Now one thing that I realized with this Ruger Mark IV, so Ruger makes a Mark IV suppressor ready version that has a very, very short barrel compared to this. And it's specifically meant to keep supersonic rounds subsonic because there's not enough barrel length to get those rounds up to supersonic speeds. Well, I've kind of realized I don't think that's necessary because this barrel length seems to do the same thing. I shot a bunch of supersonic mini mags and CCI subsonic rounds And I couldn't even tell a difference in the sound. They literally sounded exactly the same. This video is sponsored by Venice AI. Do you ever wonder what ChatGPT does with your conversations? We all know that our phones, Alexa, everything like that, listens to our conversations and then advertises to us based on what we say. Well, what else are these things doing with our personal information? They're selling it to third parties, including governments. In fact, the director of the NSA, the former director, is now sitting on the board of ChatGPT, which is why I'm using Venice AI. Venice AI is an AI software. It uses open source software that you don't have to download. It goes straight to your web browser, but the biggest thing is that it's private and permissionless. And so you don't have to worry about them selling your information to anybody else, which is kind of why it's a big deal to me. I like privacy, even though I show everything that I do on a YouTube channel. My daughter, she's 13. She uses AI for all kinds of things these days. She's been writing stories with it. She's been making music with it. It is incredible what you can do with AI. It's a very powerful tool, but keep your privacy while you use it with Venice AI. I like the Pro plan personally. It just gives you a lot more that you can do, and you can get a 20% off on your Pro plan if you sign up using my link. That is venice.ai/sawtooth-tactical. Use that code to get 20% off. The code is sawtooth-tactical. So now I've got some CCI Subsonic 22. See if it'll run with the subs. Is there anything more fun than shooting Suppress 22? I mean, not many things. At least not many things you can do with your pants on. It's pretty sweet. No hearing protection needed. I love to be able to shoot without ear pro, and there's only some things you can do that with. So the same time I was out shooting this, it's not even behind me, I was shooting my 11.5 inch with a suppressor on it, but that is a 5.56 gun. I was shooting it with a super safety. I had to use ear pro for that. I mean, you don't have to. You're a free American, you can do whatever you want, but I do recommend hearing protection even while suppressed when shooting 5.56. I can shoot 9mm subsonics without hearing protection with this big ass suppressor, and it's pretty decently, comfortable, but nothing like this. 22 with a good suppressor is, it's a joy to shoot. I know I say that like with other things, like shooting at 2011 is a joy to shoot. It is to me. Shooting the MP5, it's a joy to shoot. Well, shooting Subsonic 22 is a joy to shoot. For one thing, 22 has like no recoil to speak of. And so you can really like shoot it very accurately. And the recoil technically shouldn't make a difference with your accuracy, but it does. When you're not, expecting the gun to move, it is just so easy to keep it on target, especially with a red dot optic. I mean, your dot doesn't move. And so you can just, punch rounds onto steel from just about any distance you want to extremely easily. When it also has very little sound, again, same thing. So a human being naturally, like even if you've been shooting for years and you're very comfortable with firearms, I'm very comfortable shooting firearms at this point. But the human brain understands, because of recoil and loud noise, that there is a small explosion taking place right in front of your face, and you do have a natural reaction to that. When that thing is, doesn't have any recoil or any sound, well, you don't really have any reaction to it, and it just makes it extremely easy to shoot well, which is fun. I mean, part of the reason that I have this set up like this is for my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter. She is actually a pretty dang good shot. And she has a BB gun, a CO2 powered BB gun pistol that's a clone of my Smith & Wesson M&P right there. Well, this thing recoils and is about as loud as that BB gun pistol. So now I have a real gun that is just as fun for her to shoot. The Griffin Checkmate HD, CCI mini mags, and then we're gonna go subsonic. Instead of hitting the steel, I'm just gonna go into the mountain and see if we can hear a difference between the two. Subsonic. They're both pretty quiet. When you order this suppressor, Griffin Armament will ask you to specify which mounting method you would like, because they have a number of different QD systems for their suppressors that do work on this 22 rimfire suppressor. And when I say that it is rimfire, it is, but it's also 5.7 by 28 rated. So if you've got a 5.7 pistol or rifle, this suppressor will work for it. It is a pretty beefy, solid suppressor, even being as small and lightweight as it is. Now, I chose not to get any of those QD attachment methods and instead went with the 1/2 by 28 direct thread because I planned to put it on this Ruger Mark IV, which is threaded 1/2 by 28 for a suppressor. And a Ruger Mark IV, as you can see here, it has a bolt that reciprocates, kind of like a mini AR-15, to be quite honest. It does not have a reciprocating slide and a tilting barrel, and so you don't need to use any Nielsen device or anything like that. You can literally just direct thread your suppressor because it is a fixed barrel. So that is pretty nice. And, you know, it didn't seem to affect anything as far as cycling, didn't make it feel like it was overgassed, anything. The gun shot exactly how it shot before I put this suppressor on it, and with either kind of ammo. So I ran both of these through it. My favorite 22 CCI mini mags. This is good, reliable stuff. And I also bought a bunch of CCI subsonic 22 just to see if there was going to be a difference in sound, which honestly, I don't think there was. It was really hard for me to tell, and I even took a bunch of shots just into the dirt, into the mountain, instead of at the steel targets to see if I could tell a difference. And that was with no hearing protection, and it sounded just as quiet with either one. So if you are running the Checkmate HD on a 22 pistol, even one with a regular barrel length and not the short one that's made to be suppressed, I think you can run the regular 22. You don't have to spring for the more expensive subsonic rounds, and you will be just fine. Now, if you're running it on like a 1022 or something with a rifle length barrel, that might be different, and we will be testing that with this suppressor in the future as well. I've got well, it's an SBR, so it's not a full 16-inch barrel, but technically it's a pistol right now that I am looking at getting, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, I just want to talk about this suppressor because, I mean, as far as suppressors go, you know, the biggest reason that you get them, there's a lot of reasons for suppressors, but sound suppression, right? Well, it is pretty dang satisfying shooting 22 out of a good 22 suppressor. This thing is ridiculously quiet. And it also looks good. It's nice and lightweight. I like the star end cap in the end, which is also part of their EcoFlow baffle system. You know, it's very nicely machined. This is 7075 T6 aluminum. The baffles are 17.4 steel, and you know, it's just a totally solid suppressor. It is user serviceable, so you can open this thing up and clean it. I don't clean my centerfire suppressors, my rifle cans, ever. I haven't ever. But 22 is different. It doesn't have nearly as much pressure, and so, you know, it does get dirty inside there. You do have to clean a 22 suppressor occasionally, And so you kind of want one that you can take apart and clean yourself. And this one you can. Is there anything more fun than a suppressed Ruger Mark IV 22? I don't even think you need subsonic ammo. I mean, the regular mini mags, know your pro, no problem. If you're looking for a 22, a rimfire suppressor, I think that this is a great choice. When I first started looking at suppressors for this pistol, you know, a big one, the Silencer Co., Sparrow, and the Dead Air Mask have held a big chunk of the market for a long time. But there are other really good options, and this is one of them. I checked out the Sparrow and the Mask. The Sparrow is nice and cheap. It's 22. I'm sure it does a fine job. The Mask is a little bit heavy for what it is, I think, but I'm sure it does well too. People recommend it a lot. I think it is worth checking out Griffin Armament. Like I said, I have some experience with their products. I love their Mark II ambi lower. And their thing seems to be really, really high quality stuff at a pretty affordable price, and this is no different. Now, why do I recommend getting this now? Because we did just pass this big, beautiful, not really so beautiful anymore, bill, and we did get a $0 tax stamp on suppressors. But that doesn't go in effect until the 1st of the 2026, January 1st. So, does it make more sense to just hold off and wait until then to not pay your tax stamp? I don't think so. I think that a lot of people that have held off on buying suppressors until they don't have to pay for a tax stamp, I get that comment all the time on my videos because I do a lot of content about suppressors. I love suppressors. And a lot of people, you know, I'll get a suppressor when I don't have to pay $200 to the government. Well, that is coming. But you know what's going to happen? At least what I think is going to happen is that as soon as there's a $0 tax stamp, the suppressor market is going to go crazy. And you might have a really hard time finding the suppressor that you want when demand outpaces supply. And so to me, if you're looking for a 22 suppressor, or any suppressor, I think it almost makes more sense to pay your tax stamp and get it now while they're still in stock before you can't get it at all. Because by the time you want to get it without paying for a tax stamp, you might decide it would have been worth paying that $200 to get your suppressor rather than waiting until supply catches back up with demand. Now, I assume that suppressor manufacturers are probably expecting this and hopefully ramping up production. We'll see. But another thing that you could do is you could buy it or even put it on layaway. My gun shop does that. And get your suppressor paid for and keep it in there safe until the thing passes. And then, you know, do your NFA paperwork, you know, at the beginning of 2026. But at least you've already bought your suppressor and you know it's yours. It's just sitting at your gun shop instead of in your safe. 2 ways to do it. Personally, I just paid the tax stamp because I wanted it now. And I am not very patient when it comes to wanting the firearms and accessories that I want and wanting them now. Every time I start a new AR build, I'm like, oh, this one will take a whole year, you know, so it doesn't cost me all this money all at once. And instead I buy a new part like every week until it's done. Same thing with this. Once I got this Ruger Mark IV, I was not gonna have it and not have it suppressed. And so I want to thank Griffin Armament for sending this suppressor out to me. I really appreciate it, and I really love the suppressor. It's extremely quiet and really, really satisfying to shoot. And yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Griffin Armament. There's a reason I'm wearing their hat. They did send me the hat and the shirt. And it's good stuff. Like, I think Griffin Armament is a very cool company doing very good things. And if you haven't, you should definitely check them out. Like I said, I mean, I think that the Mark II ambi lower is probably the best value in lower receivers in the market. Of course, there are some quality lowers that are less expensive, but they're not ambi. As far as an ambi lower with, in my opinion, best in the market ambi controls, there is no better value than that Mark II or Mark II lower. And I'm feeling pretty much the same way about this Checkmate HD. This is an awesome suppressor. So I know that when I was looking for a rimfire suppressor, I didn't know as much about them as I do about, rifle suppressors. And so I'm glad that I found this. This Checkmate HD is awesome. I do believe in having a suppressor for every different, application. Some people will just buy a 30 cal suppressor and use it for everything. And you can do that. Or like a 9mm or a 46 cal suppressor to use for everything. Like this suppressor you could use for just about everything. But you don't really want to use something that you can't take apart for rimfire, because like I said, it does get dirty and you do need to clean it. So you kind of really need a rimfire suppressor that, that you can disassemble for shooting 22. And you don't want something big and heavy on a 22 anyway. You want something like this because you don't need something big and heavy. A nice lightweight small suppressor will do the job just fine with 22. But as you can see, can for 5.56, 22 cal, a 30 cal can for 300 blackout. This is a 46 cal can, but 9mm end cap for, 9mm, and then a 22 suppressor for 22. Things that are specialized for the purpose are always going to work better than just generic things that are kind of good at everything, but not great at any one thing. And so if you want to suppress 22, get a 22 suppressor. You will not be disappointed. And the Griffin Checkmate HD is a really good option. I've been extremely impressed with all the products I've gotten from Griffin Armament. I run their Mark II ambi lower on my Mark 18. And this Checkmate HD, is ridiculously quiet. Subs again. Ooh. If you have any questions about the Griffin Armament Checkmate HD, let me know down in the comments. And if I can answer them, I promise you that I will. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.